Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Next Level Healing. I'm very excited to have with me Nick Prefontaine. He has an amazing story. At age 14, he suffered a life-threatening snowboarding accident and was put into a coma. His parents were told he would probably never walk, talk, eat on his own again. He did and set a personal goal of not only walking, but running out of the hospital. He does a lot of speaking work for brain injury and dysphonia organizations. He went on to become a keynote and motivational speaker and was named top motivational speaker in 2022 by Yahoo Finance. Welcome to Next Level Healing, Nick Prefontaine.
I'm so excited to be here.
I'd love to hear this story. You know, having a life-threatening snowboarding accident is no little deal. To be your poor parents, we have something in common because my poor mother saw me dragged by a horse when I was 7 years old and on a rocky paddock, and I also was put into a coma for a week, and was told that I would not be normal again, and anyway,
Here we both are.
So I can't imagine a parent having to live through the possibility of their child never recovering again. What was this experience like for you, and how did you do it?
Sure. Great question. So I think I go back when I'm starting to share and tell people about my accident and the story. It goes, I'm transported right back there to that day, February 5th in 2003, when I was at ski club with my friends. So on the way to the mountain, my friends and I had all brought our snowboard gear onto the bus to get ready so we wouldn't miss a precious moment once we got to the mountain. Unlike everyone else who waited until they got to the mountain and then headed inside to get ready, we were ready to go. So got to the mountain, headed right for the chairlift. And then going up the chairlift, we noticed that it was very icy because it had been raining. So people were wiping out everywhere. However, we weren't like beginners. It wasn't a bunny slope. We were experienced and we knew what we were doing. So going up the chairlift, the chairlift went right over the train park where all of the jumps were. And as soon as I saw it, the biggest jump in the train park, I was like, oh, that's it. I'm definitely hitting that. So got to the top, buckled into my snowboard and took a breath of that crisp winter air and confidently charged towards that jump with all my speed. Going out to the jump, I caught the edge of my snowboard.
Not good.
No, I was told that I landed on my head.
So you don't remember what happened after that?
It's been over the years. I pieced it together from people who have told me what has happened. So I learned later that the only protection that my head had was my goggles. So I didn't have a helmet. I usually had a helmet when I went to this mountain because it was a mountain. It was a little bit bigger than I was used to. However, that day I had forgot it. I just figured, I'll be careful.
At 14, don't we all think we're immortal?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna be all right. Nothing was gonna happen. Nothing ever did happen, so I'd be fine. And then, so I learned that my goggles were the only protection that my head had. So I learned that with each subsequent hit, after my head hit the ice, as I rolled down the mountain, my goggles mysteriously moved to cushion each blow as I rolled down the mountain. And depending on what you believe, and I believe everything happens for a reason, of course. So how could I not really, having come this far? So I think it was for a reason that my goggles protected my head and they were help cushioning my blow. Second thing was they wanted to life flight me. They wanted to bring a helicopter to the mountain to rush me to the hospital. However, they couldn't because it was too windy. So they had to send in an ambulance. Out of all the paramedics in the area, there was only one who could intubate right on the spot. And because of the severity of my injuries, I needed that to be able to breathe. So he was one of the paramedics that showed up to the mountain that day. So just like several things, one on top of the other, just kept happening in my favor. That broke, I was fortunate that broke for me, or for me that day. And then the third thing was when I got to the hospital, I was resting in a coma in the ICU, unable to communicate with anyone. My parents were in my room, and the doctors came into my room to share the not so positive news. And when the doctors started talking right in front of me, my parents stopped them. They said, no, not in front of him. Because they understood that even though I was in a coma, I was still taking in information. So they made the doctors step outside the room to share the information. Once outside my room, that's where the doctor shared that, look, he's in a coma, and even if he comes out of the coma, there's a good chance that he's probably not going to be able to walk, talk, or eat on his own ever again. Because this didn't influence me, I had no idea of this. And my parents, to their credit, didn't let them influence the way that they treated me throughout my recovery. They thanked the doctors for the information, and then this allowed me to treat it like any other situation. So as soon as I was in a coma for 3 weeks, and it was a partially induced coma, because they were afraid that if I woke up, I would start freaking out and wondering, who are you people, and how did I get here, what happened? So they had to induce me into a coma because they were afraid at swelling my brain, that the swelling was already so high that if it increased, I would have died. Then after, they said just on the impact alone, I would have been out for probably 7 or 10 days. After coming out of the coma after 3 weeks, partially induced, the lights were on, but no one was home. I've seen videos of myself in the ICU where I have my eyes open and I'm looking around. I don't remember any of that. I don't remember any of my time in the ICU.
And you were in a coma for 3 weeks.
I don't remember a month. So I might as well have been in a coma for a month, because that time frame, that week or two after when I came out,
it was a month?
It realistically, or with treating it as eyes open as the gauge, it was 3 weeks. However, I don't remember consciously. I don't remember a month, because it was partially induced, because I was like slowly coming to and coming off all those drugs.
I just, having been in a coma for 5 days, I mean, the longer you're in a coma, the less likely you are to come out good, and you've done great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, studies are showing that 68% of people that watch podcasts regularly don't click the subscribe button. Do me a huge favor. If you like this content, click subscribe so other people know where to go for the cool stuff. Thank you.
Then after a month, so I got in the accident February 5th. After a month, I was transported to a rehab hospital in Boston. And that's where I kind of began my journey of having to learn how to walk, talk, and eat again and do everything. Now, during that process, and there's a couple things about this that are interesting. During this process, I overheard my parents talking with the doctors that are, what are we going to do to make sure Nick makes a full recovery? And like, they wanted to get everyone's feedback and work with everyone, my team, if you will. And I still wasn't able to talk because I had to learn everything all over again. However, I heard in the back of my head, no, you got to run out. So then our goal, and that's where I get my name and my company, our common goal became that I was going to run out of the hospital.
So you just heard this. This was just like one of those knowings that people had. Nobody told you this. You didn't hear it on the radio. You just got the message, you're going to run out of here. Is that correct?
That's accurate. I've been really fortunate and good all throughout my life at listening to that voice inside of my head. And I'll tie this back a little bit later in my story, but I've always been good at listening to that voice in the back of my head. So then once I heard that, then everything I was doing on a day-to-day basis and week-to-week basis was so I was able to run out of the hospital. And it was also early on in my recovery that I can remember I would have long days. So when I was in inpatient therapy, I would get up, I would need help learning how to shower again. And if you think of that, like everything was taken away from me. So even though my body was a 14-year-old, I was really like a baby. I had to learn everything all over again. So I literally had to learn that something as elementary and simple that, okay, Nick, you do water before you do soap kind of thing, like that basic. And it's not glamorous to talk about, but I had to learn everything. So learning how to shower, how to eat, how to hold the utensil, like everything. I had to learn that all over again. And it was early on in my recovery. I remember getting up. I needed my help from my physical therapist to teach me how to shower again. Then it would start my day of physical, occupational, and speech therapy. After which you broke for lunch. And I can remember being in my hospital room in a wheelchair, not a fully supported wheelchair, but a wheelchair nonetheless. And turning to my mom because she was with me every day, and she was my advocate, which is also something that I talk about in the STEP system. You have to make sure that you have your advocate. She was with me, and I was looking over my situation being in a wheelchair, and for whatever reason, I was having issues with it. I just couldn't figure it out. I remember turning to her and asking, Mom, am I ever going to be able to walk again? And she didn't even hesitate. She said, of course you are. That's what we're doing here, so you can get everything back and we can go home.
Go, Mom.
Yeah. No, my support system was huge, I think, during this whole experience. And I point to this because we all have moments of doubt. People hear my story of getting in a snowboarding accident and being in a coma for 3 weeks and running out of the hospital, and they think, oh, great, easy for you. Well, it wasn't easy for me. It was, I had doubts, I'm human, just like everyone. However, because I had that advocate with me at all times, that allowed me to continue to move forward and take my next step. After lunch, I started my afternoon sessions of my therapies. I had physical, occupational, and speech therapy. So I had double sessions of therapy 5 days a week. So it was quite the journey. It was definitely a lot of work.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one sister, yes.
Older or younger?
She's younger, but
what was that like for her?
I was just gonna say, the older that we get, it's really the gap between us is really non-existent. She's only 13 or 14 months younger than me. So for her, that was an interesting time, obviously, because my parents were focused on making sure they were there for me and taking care of me. So, my sister was, I don't want to say had to fend for herself, but it really taught her resilience and self-reliance, if you will. So unknowingly, during my recovery, I was utilizing a system, and that's what I teach to this day, and what I continue to use to this day, which is the STEP system. STEP is an acronym. So support. You have to make sure that you have the support of your family and friends around you. This is going to have you falling back on relationships that you built prior to your setback. And then T is trust. And part of support is an advocate, which I go into in the ebook STEP. T is trust. You have to trust that once you take your first step, your next step is always going to be available to you. and follow it. And this also goes back, which I've already touched on, following that calling that you have inside of you. Like that little voice that you have in the back of your head, it's there for a reason. So you have to listen to that. So point about that, with the founding of Common Goal and helping people that are going through trauma, I've always done it all throughout my life, Dr. Perry. All throughout my life, I've always, whenever anyone's been going through an accident, a life challenge, or trauma, or a setback, it's always, oh, you got to talk to Nick. And I've always just naturally done it. I've always shared this system with them just because that's the way that I accomplish and deal and face anything is, okay, I work with them on identifying their next steps and sharing the step system with them. So all throughout my life, I've always had this voice in the back of my head that's been telling me whatever level of success I'm having, whether it's sales, real estate, anything, is that, yeah, okay, that's great, but what you really have to be doing is helping individuals that are going through trauma get through to the other side and to be able to thrive with the rest of their lives. That voice has always been there, whatever I'm doing. And as of May of 2021, I finally listened to that voice. And I reached out to a contact that heard me speak in 2019, and she told me, if you're ever looking to fine-tune your message and to bring it to another level for maximum impact, I can introduce you to a few coaches and mentors. She made an introduction in May of 2021 to Trisha Brooke, and ever since that day, no voice. I haven't had a voice in the back of my head, so that's evidence to me that I am doing exactly what I was put on this earth to do.
Oh boy, doesn't that feel good?
It's amazing, and I've been doing it all my life, but really I've been doing it kind of on the side or ignoring it. Like, okay, yeah, that's something nice that you can help, but that we're in now. I'm doing it like on a day-to-day basis and helping people on a bigger scale. Which you and I were sharing offline, which includes speaking at a lot of brain injury associations. So I don't usually talk about that, especially this early in the conversation. However, I wanted to share it just because it had to do with trust, following that calling that I had inside of me. So E of the step system is energy. Maintaining your energy allows your body's natural ability to be able to heal itself. If you're not taking care of you, health, diet, exercise, your energy level, how do you expect to take care of, influence, and affect other people that are going through their own journeys? And finally, P is persistence. Persistence, once you've taken your first step, keep getting up every day and taking your next step, no matter how small. So especially at the start of a setback, it's so important that you're doing something every day. And it doesn't have to be you don't have to be like doing marathons or anything, but just something every day. And you can relate this to starting anything, but especially recovery from a trauma or a setback. Just do something every day. I remember even on the weekends, I would be doing extra exercises and every day doing something. I know it sounds like a lot, but by doing something every day, you are building an unstoppable momentum.
Beautiful. Wow, you have hit on so many great points. So many great points. I just interviewed, my previous interview was Cynthia Sue Larson, who wrote a book called Quantum Leaps, and it certainly sounds like you, Nick, took a quantum leap.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Well, you built this wonderful system, and then the next thing you know, you took this quantum leap to share it with other people and became a keynote speaker and are talking to all these brain organizations. And I mean, being such a huge inspiration to people that went through what you went through.
Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty impactful after hearing my keynote speech. that these brain injury associations, after I speak at it's usually their annual conferences that they hold once a year, is that the stories that come up to me after and say I really helped them, and I've really helped them see what their next step is and their way through their trauma, and that they felt that they were stuck. The people that I have coming up to me after hearing my keynote, almost in tears, or I can tell it emotionally affects them, that means the world to me. And there really is no better feeling.
Absolutely. I just interviewed also Stephen Cope, who works with the Kripalu Yoga Center, which is the busiest yoga center in America. And he writes a lot about Dharma, and it's following your life's path. And it certainly sounds like you've hit your life's path, because when you do, that voice that's constantly nagging at you to do something different, it's gone. And your impact is massively increasing. When you speak, people feel spoken to and ministered to. So that's really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So after, let me just talk a little bit about after running out of the hospital, because I mean, it wasn't like my work was done. I had to continue to go to outpatient therapy for another 6 months, along with being tutored all summer long, 5 days a week, in order to continue on to high school with the rest of my classmates.
Oh, so you did catch up to your classmates?
Yeah.
That's shocking, because you had to learn how to go through practically every grade level again.
It came back. So it came back. It didn't. Yes, it did come back. It was just slow going, if you will. So I would go to school while they were still in school, because if you recall, I didn't run out of the hospital until April 24th. So there wasn't that much time left in the school year. So it was important to me that I was able to go back to school. However, it wasn't like I was able to go and sit in the classroom with my classmates, because they had already gone so far past where I was, and I had to cover the material from the time that I missed. So I would go into school in the mornings, work one-on-one with a teacher for 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours. Then I would have lunch. With my classmates, and that was the best part for me. Going back and being able to spend time with my friends and classmates and everything. And then I would get picked up, and then I would be brought to outpatient therapy. So they were still long days. It was just a different kind of long day.
So what was it like with your, because we had another interview that just was released last week, and this fellow who was in a coma for 22 days, I mean, these are spectacular recoveries. And, I hope that this broadcast serves as a huge inspiration for people who are facing these immense challenges. But the support of this young man's friends was for him. It happened during COVID, and they showed up for 22 days while, they couldn't see him. He was unresponsive, but they would show up day after day after day. What was that community like for you, during your absence and as you re-entered the school environment again? What was that experience like for you?
Oh my gosh, my friends at the time were so supportive. Even when I was going back to when I was in the hospital, in the inpatient rehab, I would have my friends come in, and it was something I really look forward to have my friends come in and see me. They would come in at certain times, and there was only certain windows that they could see me, but I would have visitors come in during the week and see me and spend a little bit of time with me. I was kind of friends with everyone. I was friends with a lot of people growing up, and I talked to my sister about this recently. Is that when you're younger, it really seems like everyone's friends. kind of thing. And there are really no cliques or anything like that, or that it's limited to what it gets to when it's in high school. But I really felt like I was friends with everyone. So
Nice.
I would have my snowboarding friends or that group I would snowboard and skateboard with. Then I was also in like organized sports, like I was in Premier Soccer, so I would have that group. And then, yeah, so I was kind of friends. It seemed like memory is that I was friends with everyone. And I had each one of those different types of friends come in, which I'm still in touch with a lot of them to this day, which is pretty funny. But I did have a big support network of friends, not just family, which is just as important. One of the things I talk about in Step, the ebook, is that, which I'll give you listeners a way they can download that for free at the end, is that your support doesn't necessarily have to be family. It can be friends, or it can be people who are always there, who are always showing up, but you're just discounting it, thinking, oh no, they're not my support because they're not my family. It's not just a one size fits all. You have to make sure you're open to receiving help from other sources, other avenues. But my friends were a big part of my recovery for sure.
Fantastic. So, so if somebody has somebody in their life that's been brain injured through a traumatic event like that, what would be some of the first things that you would suggest for them?
If they have someone who they know, it's different, because I can only go at it from actually being the person and knowing that I can only control what I can control, which is getting up every day and taking my next step, whatever it is. So that's number one. I would first encourage that person, whoever it is, and whoever it is to you, to just don't block out the noise. Just worry about where you are right now, and don't compare yourself to the past. I see the mistake too often where someone, all right, so I'll give you an example from someone that I was working with recently over the last few weeks to a month. So they had a family member. They had their daughter who was in an accident. And every time I would talk to this person, they would say, yeah, but you know what? She can't do what she used to do. And she's doing this, but she can't do what she used to do. Or she's making progress, but she's still not there yet. I said, you're being unfair to yourself and her by comparing her to who she was. They're two different people. Who they are now after the accident, who they were before the accident, those are two different people. Don't worry about always comparing them to their past self. Just worry about getting better a little bit every day. Just keep making progress. Keep getting better every day. That's all you can control. Then years from now, you're going to look back and see that very often they might be better than they were to begin with. But right now, to compare them to their previous self before the accident, that's unfair to them, and it's unfair to you.
It throws up limitations. The brain is so programmable.
What's that?
It throws up limitations. The brain is so programmable.
Absolutely. And I just think it's not, I mean, if people did that to me after I got in my accident, I honestly, I don't even know where I'd be.
You're lucky your parents knew better.
I'm very fortunate. I had the family and the support system that I have, that I've come from. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. They're two different people. Before the accident, after the accident, they're two different people. All you have to worry about is just getting better every day, improving every day,
and put all of your attention on the progress.
Yep. Because there is progress, even though...
And that energy is infectious.
Yep. Yeah, and even though you're beating yourself up, because there are a lot of people out there who beat themselves up over, oh, well, I can't do this. And I can't do things I used to do.
Mhm.
I'm not that person. I see videos of myself from before my accident. I was like, wow, I'm talking like so fast. Well, part of it was I was 13 or 14 years old, but
So
it's
so
two
many
different people.
so many people, when they look back on a major tragedy or a major event, so many people are able to see a giant gift within that. What would the giant gift have been for you in that experience?
I wouldn't change. So I wouldn't change anything about what I did, or what I've gone through. And people hear that and they're like, "Oh, that's awesome. That's an awesome attitude." And I tell my mom that, and she goes, "No, I'd change it. I'd 100% not go through that. That was not fun. I wouldn't want to go through that again."
That's your mom speaking, but what
Yeah,
about
exactly.
you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what about you?
Me, I mean, I think there's nothing that resilience is coming to mind. I don't think there's anything, as long as, and I'm not superhuman, by the way, as long as I'm taking care of my energy, I really feel that there's nothing that I can't accomplish. So
If
that
you could go back and change that event, would you do it?
No,
Yeah, that's amazing.
because it made me who I am today.
Beautiful. So amazing. And look at what you're able to contribute to other people's lives.
Who knows? And who knows if I would be on this path? If I probably, I mean, I can't say for sure I would or I wouldn't. And I'm just so thrilled that I'm able to affect people's lives like I am today, because I feel that there is so much limitation and lack out there, for, oh, you get an accident, kind of, sucks for you. You're kind of doomed. You're kind of doomed to that life now, that life of limitation. I just feel like that's really an incorrect way of looking at it. So I haven't even got to, and I don't even know. I don't even know if we have enough time here. There's another thing that I had to overcome, which is interesting, that only 18 months after running out of the hospital, or getting done with rehab, excuse me, it's a little surreal to me that I got my start in real estate. I grew up in a family real estate business, and right around that time, I came to my dad and said, 18 months after finishing our outpatient rehab, I said, I want to get involved. I want to start doing things for your company. I was only 16. And right on that time, they were playing with the idea of having people door knock pre-foreclosure doors, or homeowners that have received a notice of default letter from the bank. And I would get a list, a clipboard. I had a script that I had to say, and I would go and knock on these doors. And I would set up appointments for an investor to meet with them about potentially buying their home. And really, there's no better training to know how to work with people for, at 16 years old, door knocking on notice of default doors, or pre-foreclosure doors. That was in high school. I did that throughout the rest of my high school. Then if you fast forward a little bit, I got involved in real estate, got my license and everything. And then in 2012, I developed a voice issue. So I just knew something wasn't right with my voice as the summer wound down. And I can remember being out to dinner, just my mom and I. And I remember just having issues with my voice. And even talking about it, I'm like back in that restaurant with her. I was like, I don't get it. It almost feels like it's hard to get the words out. I can't explain what's going on. And we determined that, okay, just rest or whatever. And that didn't work. I ended up seeing a bunch of specialists and everything. And a year later, I wound up in a specialist office in Boston. And that's where I started getting Botox injections into my throat, along with voice therapy, to get my voice back to normal. And like it was after my accident. And all throughout that process, the reason I want to bring up this story, all throughout that process, there was people who, like experts, who would say to me, therapists, doctors, well, it's really not that bad, and you can, it's something you can live with, and it's okay if you can live with it. You can have a pretty fulfilling life. And I was just like, no, I had my voice back after my accident. I'm gonna continue to work to do the exercises that you gave me, get the Botox treatments, the injections in my throat, and just continue to get the natural treatments that I get, because it keeps getting better. Even though the experts couldn't tell me, I was like, no, it keeps getting better. The last time I had an injection was February 13th of 2020. So right before the world shut down, and that's coming up on 4 years. And I want to say that because I had so many people doubt me and say to me, oh, well, it's okay. It's not bad. That you have to live with that. And thousands of people have to live with it. I just wouldn't accept that. So I just think something that my accident, and I probably have recency bias because I just went through that, and I'm on the other side of it now, that I know, like, you would never know I had an issue with my voice talking to you today. The ability, the resilience just to keep going. And the people that I work with, that's the number one thing that I say, just keep going. People quit. They give up way too early, I would say.
I did have an incident where I ended up in the hospital paralyzed from the neck down. I had Guillain-Barré syndrome, and like you, I shut out all the noise immediately. And I don't know how I knew to do this, but there were two people, and I manifested the only neurologist in Los Angeles that told me exactly what I wanted to hear, because the doctor at the hospital said, don't expect to get your body completely back. And at that point, I made a big giant red delete button in my head, and I pressed it because I was like your parents. I'm not listening to anything other than I'm going to be back to work and the quickest healing case on record. So I appreciate so much what your message is and what you're telling people and what you're inspiring people to believe is possible, because why not?
That's amazing. And I think we need to have more conversations offline. I need to learn more about you and your story and everything. That's quite remarkable in and of itself.
Well, I'm all for inspiring people to realize that better, more, that's the whole reason for the show. Next Level Healing is, let's take healing to the next level, because there's room and there's so much inspiration, like yourself. As Tony Robbins says, success leaves clues, and so does failure. So let's just follow all the successful people. So what else would you like our listeners to know, people that have suffered a setback? Because it sounds like in fact, I'm guessing that's why you were named top motivational speaker in 2022 by Yahoo Finance, because so many of these principles can be used in any area of business. And certainly, you went and used your compassion and your understanding and your wisdom that you gained from your accident when you were working with people in foreclosures who were obviously terrified, and probably communicating with somebody whose heart was opened as a result of knowing what it was like to have to rebuild his life. Probably you were the perfect person for them to be talking to at that point. Is my hallucination correct there?
No, you're spot on. You're spot on. I would say for anyone going through a trauma, going through any challenge, trauma, or setback, to just keep getting up. As I alluded to earlier in the conversation, just keep getting up and taking your next steps every day. As long as you keep going, there is no stopping you. Just keep going. And I would say that once you've taken your first step, this is something else that I always talk about. Once you've taken your first step, your next step is always going to be available to you. But the problem is that people freeze. They don't know what to do. They get overwhelmed, and they get scared, and they don't know what to do. But as long as you're taking a step, and it doesn't have to be a big step, doesn't have to be a leap. but you have to be taking a step every day. As long as you're doing that, there's really no stopping you.
So what resources do you have? How do people get in touch with you? Are there YouTube programs with you on there? What is the best way for people to be inspired and learn about your STEP protocol?
Sure. If you go to nickprefontaine.com/step, you can get the ebook STEP that I've referenced several times for free, and that's going to teach you all about support, trust, energy, and persistence. And really, what we've covered is really only a 10,000-foot view. That's going to go into detail on each one of the letters: support, trust, energy, and persistence. And then also, when you're on the website, you will see that I do have a product, the STEP video series, which really it's only $37, but that's going to, if you want to supercharge your healing, that really walks you through each one of the letters. So how to identify your support, how to trust, how to identify your energy, and how to have persistence. And it includes a workbook with each one of the letters. And that's really if you want to supercharge your results that you're having. But I would say, take a step back. It's not a great fit for everyone. However, the ebook STEP is free. So yeah, that's a great fit and a great start for everyone.
And I want to make sure they have the correct spelling of your name, because there's a couple of ways to do this. It's Nick, Nick Prefontaine, Prefontaine. And Nick, once again, what's the website that they go to?
Sure, it's nickprefontaine.com/step. And that is going to allow them to take their first step today.
Fantastic. Folks, if you got great value of this, please click like and subscribe. Check out Nick Prefontaine, his free STEP guide, and his program. His video program is available to you. Nick, thank you so much for being with us on Next Level Healing today.
Oh, you were a delight. Thank you very much for having me.
Bye for now, everybody.